Hello everybody, I'm Nora Burrows. Today we have two things. I'm going to show you my finished tree quilt, which I am very, very happy with. And I'm going to show you some of where I store my stuff, like I promised you I would in the last video. We may even make it all the way up into the attic, which would be a lot of fun. We might find some treasures up there. But if we don't get to that in this video, we'll do it in the next one. But let me start with my tree quilt. I'm going to back up so you can see hopefully the whole thing, but if you can't see the whole thing here, I'll put some photos at the end so you can see it in full. I used to have a great way of displaying my quilts for you all to see because I had hung that clothesline in my yard between the two trees so that I could, it's a long story. You can check out my Hang a Quilt Outside, like Mary Fawn's series. She used to hang quilts on her fire escape during COVID, etc., etc. I wanted to do something similar to bring joy to the neighborhood, and I hung my Mary Fawn's quilt out there along with many other quilts throughout the year. And then a huge huge enormous tree in our yard came smashing down during a storm, and it took out the two trees that the clothesline was on. So I don't have my clothesline out there, so now I just have to kind of hold my quilts up for you, and you can never really see them, and the lighting isn't very good. So I need to find another two trees to hang a clothesline so I can display my quilts, but the one that was out there was really in the perfect spot and just will never be the same. Anyway, let me show you this quilt. And now I'll show you the back. The only part I'm not crazy about the back is that there's a big chunk of this blue in the middle, and in the front you're really just getting like a little splatter of that blue because the blue is pretty different than the rest of the colors. But on the back it's like this huge big chunk right in the middle, so I would have done that differently. But besides that, I just did kind of this pieced backing. Some of you had asked in the last video about where I got this pattern from. It's not a pattern, these are called wonky tree blocks, and each tree block is different. So some of them might be really tall and skinny, and some of them might be fat and wide, and some of the tree triangles might be a little off kilter. All these are looking awfully similar in shape that I'm showing you, which is hilarious. Let's see if we can find a skinny one. Oh, here's a nice long skinny one. There you go, and see how the tree trunks are all different. So basically what you do is cut out your triangle, and then you attach a piece to the bottom that would be background, trunk, background, and then you attach these pieces to the sides. So if you make each one of your triangles a different shape, you know, the whole thing will be a different shape. And I can do a video on that at some point. Those are really fun to do. Also, I was remembering that for this background that I used for all the sashing, this one here, I don't know if it looks familiar to you, but I purchased that on that Quilt Adventure. It was my very first Quilt Adventure, where I went to the home of that famous quilter who was Susan something, I can't remember. She was moving to Florida, and so she was selling a lot of her stuff, and I went it was a crazy experience. I'll link the video in the description of this video, but I only ended up buying like 3 pieces of fabric when I had gone there in the intent of like buying a ton of stuff because everything was so expensive. But that fabric there for the sashing is one of the 3 fabrics that I got from her, and I think it really complements the colors of the whole thing very nicely. All right, so let's take a little, what else did I want to say about this? The other thing that I wanted to mention is kind of a cool thought. So I was just folding this quilt up the other day, and I realized that, here, let me lay it flat so that you can see what I'm talking about. So what I think would be cool is to do what I'm thinking, you'd have to have all of your borders be exactly the same size. My borders are all different because depending on the size of my tree, my inner background was different sizes. But if your borders were all the same size and you made a bunch of blocks in the middle, not necessarily trees, but just triangles and squares, and then cut cut them diagonally and put them together. I love this look of having the upper and left hand border be one fabric and then the right and lower border be a contrasting fabric, and then having all of these like crazy squares and triangles in the middle. I think that looks really cool. So I might actually try something like that. So maybe we'll do some wonky regular trees together, and then maybe we'll do some blocks that we can cut up and sew together in interesting ways. So that's my tree quilt. I'm gonna give it to my dad for his 70th birthday. At first I was a little concerned as I was putting it together because I thought it might be a little too like youthful with the trees, but I think that the shapes and the colors are kind of sophisticated enough that it's cool and he'll like it. Now, in terms of, you know, where I store my stuff, because I don't have this official sewing room, and I'm just like in my dining room and my bedroom, and you know, where am I putting my stuff? Number one, you can see behind me right here, this shelf. It's a disaster, it's a mess. It could be so much cuter. Like, look at that cute little box right here, right? Those two little boxes stacked, and these little baskets, but everything is just like thrown in there. So let's take a look at what's there quickly and see what we can do about that space. So starting at the top, we have my little pencil dish there, which I use daily. I'm always like, you know, doodling quilt related things. And then I have this basket, these canvas scraps, which I can probably, let's throw away those canvas scraps. And then I just throw all of my empty bobbins in here, thinking that someday I'm gonna do something crafty with them, like make Christmas ornaments, but I don't know, I don't have any great ideas for that. And then this yarn is just thrown here. So what I wanna do is put all of these yarns, these aren't yarns, these are like embroidery threads, and I got these embroidery cards that I could put the embroidery threads on, but they've just been sitting here for months. So I'm committing tonight to take care of that. Then I have two of these pin cushions. I love these pin cushions. They are magnetic, and then you can store your pins in the back here. They have this little like container that slides out. I just got these on Amazon, but I really don't need two of them, so I need to figure out what to do with these. I don't use pins very frequently. I only use those Wonder Clips. And then here, let's see. Let's take a look at this at the table. All right, so this is the first decorative box, and I like how I have this organized. So this is just the lid, and I have these small pieces that are, you know, the width of the lid here, so that this top part can just sit right on top. That works really well. But I'd like to organize these so that I can, you know, put more of these small ones, and how they're all thready, right? Like, I use this Gutermann brand. I know a lot of people use Aurifil, but I can get the Gutermann brand 40% off at Joann's. Even though I like to support my local craft store, I do get my thread at Joann's. But they have this great thing where if you wrap it around, you can stick it into this side here, and it stays, and it keeps everything nice and tidy. But none of my threads are very tidy, so I'm going to tidy these two bins up. All color coordinated and sorted here. The small ones are in the lid and the big ones in the box, and I even had room for my pin cushion, and since I had two pin cushions, I put the other one upstairs. The other thing that was in this box was kind of these random things here, just a bunch of needles. So I would like to make a needle book, which I've seen people do. And then this I'll put with the embroidery thread to put onto those spools. Also on that top shelf were these things here. Let's see. I had hand sewed this little bit. You can kind of see like this random top stitching, just raw edge. I think this piece is kind of cool, and I'd like to, you know, I just don't have any place to put these little bits that I do. So I need to find a spot for that. I have my colored pencils that I use for when I'm drawing out quilt stuff. And then let's see what's in this box. I think this is just kind of a Mod Podge of a mess here. This is like not garbage, just garbage. We have more needles, so I need to find a way to store all of my needles. We have these like, you know, big needles here, more needles. It's a tool. Now this is thread that is not regular sewing thread, so it might be a little bit like thicker than regular sewing thread. So I should probably keep this all somewhere specific. Here's random elastic, and I have elastic in a specific place in my attic, so I'll put this up there with that. More needles. Needle in this thread here. This thread can go in with the thread I just sorted. That's regular sewing thread. I never found that these worked particularly well. They seem to run out of ink pretty quickly, but I think I'll put these in, I have a sewing basket upstairs in the nook that I showed you last time. I'll put these in that sewing basket. This is chalk, which I've also never used to outline, I guess, quilting stuff. Never used this. This will probably stay in this bin. More needles. Again, this is to mark stuff. I don't know, mark dark fabric. I'll keep that in here. Oh, I'm gonna put this inside my sewing machine, the little drawer in my sewing machine. It's to clean your sewing machine. That's an important tool. So I'll put that where it's supposed to go. I have a ton of needles here. This actually slides into one of those two magnetic pin cushions, so I'll slide this into the one that it's missing. A random adapter of some sort. Actually, you know what this is to? I think this is to this sewing light. So I'll keep these together, but I'll leave it in this bin. More garbage, a cap to something. So now all that I have left in here at this point, you know, are these three little tools. So I'll maybe as I organize the rest of that shelf, I'll find other things to put in here. I need to find something to do with this thread here. This was on the top shelf, and I thought I could take this stuff out and maybe, we'll see what's in here in a second. Let's see. So I can take all this stuff out and put the thread, you know, my random thread that I don't use for my regular making of quilts, into here. You know what, let's put this pin cushion. So this is just a regular pin cushion that sometimes I just like to take out if I'm you know, sewing on the couch and just need something next to me. I'll take this out. So I'll put that right on top, and that seems reasonable, right? That's not too crazy. So I'm gonna put this back onto the shelf. Here's the pile that was in there. I have some nice scissors. This is a tool, let me show you. Behind this shelf here, I have slid sneakily a cutting thing. It's to cut half circles, I guess. I don't know how much I love this. I feel like I might be able to get one that I like a little bit better. Anyway, this tool goes with that. So actually, you know, I think I will put this back into that clear bin with the thread, the pin cushion, and then I'll have this little tool, which would make sense because this will be right behind that little shelf. The needles that were in these boxes here, I put into this bag, but that is not ideal. I want to make an actual needle book, and maybe we can do that together in a video. I think that would be a lot of fun, but for now I have all my needles in here, so this would be a good thing to go back into this bin. Just put them on the bottom until I can make my needle book. This is the lid to a pin cushion jar. I don't know where the bottom is. Here's another needle. Let's stick that needle right here, I guess, no. Let's open it up. I made this, so I kind of don't want to throw it away, and it does kind of sit nicely. Why don't I put this back into that bin, which is now getting a little bit full, but I think it's still okay. So let's see. So we would have our thread, 2 pin cushions, and then this cutting tool. I still think that's reasonable. It's not getting too cluttered. Then we have some cutting gloves, and I think I'm gonna put these in the garage. These I don't think are actually cutting gloves. I think I was using them for that intent, but I never actually use them, so I can use those for gardening. I'll put them in the garage. I have these little mini scissors, which I love so much. My friend gave these to me. They're in the shape of a bird. Aren't those awesome? So I'm gonna put those aside for a minute because I have a couple pairs of small scissors. Let's put these scissors together. I have this backup rotary cutter, which I really never use, but I'll throw it in this bin since it's, this is a couple lids. I have 2 lids to scissors. I'm gonna throw these away. This is trash. Top shelf cleared off. We'll put those decorative blue bins back up there when we're done filling them up. Let's see, what do we have here? Let's take some of this stuff off. These are my binder clips, little thimbles for hand sewing, and my seam ripper. I use this constantly, so this has to have easy access, and it is going to live right here. I'll put this up here for a second. But let's take these off and this bag out of here. And then I have this small thing of buttons in the back. I think the buttons can go live with the buttons in the attic. I have a bunch of buttons in the attic. I'll put that with that. I have this fabric glue that I use periodically that will go in this bin. Now these are my shreds that I've used in a variety of videos. I can tell you I have more of these shreds. I'm going to do something that's painful but that has to be done, and I'm throwing these away. They're officially gone. It's painful but has to be done. I have 2 of these lights. My husband uses one and I have one. They're pretty great. You just click the little button and they light up. I just have it next to I have it on the armrest of my couch for when I'm doing my hand sewing. And this is a nice spot for it. So I have 2 of them here. My husband really never uses his, but he felt like he wanted one. So we have 2. They'll stay in there. Oh, I have these pinking shears, which I totally forgot that I had these. And we can do a lot of projects with these. So let's put these 2 pairs of scissors together. I think these are a nice brand. Let's see, these are more marker tools for marking. Same with this. And then these are to make binding strips, I think, or bias tape, I think. I haven't really used any of these. These are all tools. Let's see what else. What are the last 2 things? I have all of my rulers together in one place, so I'm going to put all of these rulers where they're supposed to be, and then just put these right back into this basket. I'll put both pairs of scissors in here, and my tools, my lights. This is a bag of thimbles of various sizes, just these rubber ones. I'll put these back in here. And then I'm going to put this full bin back onto the shelf. I've put everything back onto this shelf. I think this works really well, having this lid underneath with the extra thread in it. Looking good. Then I put this bin back onto this shelf. There's nothing over here. I know it's hard to see in the light. Let's take a look down here. So here we have another matching bin to this one. These kind of go together. But let's take a look at what this is. What's left of the stuff that I've already gone through, I still have this little piece here. I have these little scissors that I think I'm just going to put in this decorative box. This box just used to hold note cards that had been used. So I have a bunch of these little scissors, and I'll start putting them in there. Let's see what's in this basket. So these are not shreds. They're a little bigger than shreds, but they're still very teeny tiny pieces. And I do like to use these in a variety of projects, but I have a lot of them. I have all the ones in this bag, and then I have this bucket of them here. So it feels like I have a lot, but I'm not quite ready to part with them yet. So I think that I will just keep them in this bin, and this is actually what I make these out of. So maybe these should stay together in some capacity. Let's see what else is in here. I have these wooden beads. These can go back into the attic. I want to do something crafty with these. This will be a good video. And then I have these antique needle holder cases that I want to keep. I mean, they're not easily... Let me think about these for a second. We'll come back to those. I have a little bit of muslin that can go back with my other muslin. So I'll put that where it's supposed to go. These are little garbage pieces. I have more of this glue. I'll put that in the decorative bin where we put the other one. And then these are just little pieces of garbage. I'll throw these away. So these can just go right back in here. And then maybe, since I only have this one piece, I made a bunch of these. I have a lot of these pieces. Well, not a lot. I probably have like 7 or 8 of these pieces. I don't know where they are. I was hoping when I was cleaning off this bookshelf that they would turn up, but they didn't. So for now, I'm just going to fold this in half, and I'm going to tuck it, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just put it right on the bottom there underneath, and then when I find the other ones, I can put them all together, and I'm gonna put this back onto the shelf. I can tell you we're not gonna get into the attic today. I just have other things that need to get done, and this is taking a little longer than expected as usual with these kinds of things. I'm just gonna put these in this bin. I know I have more of these kinds of scissors, these little mini scissors, so I'll collect them as I find them around the house and put them into this decorative box. And I put that decorative box right inside of this decorative box, right on top of the thread. I think that will work well. So let's see what we have here. Everything is cleaned up. These shelves look so much better. I have a whole, oh, you know what I can put here is those colored pencils. I have the colored pencils leaning right up against there. Down here, I have this other bin with these little tiny pieces of fabric, and then these are my notebooks of graph paper to draw out quilts. Last shelf down here, I'm gonna get rid of this. This is just a lamp that doesn't need to be there. And then this watering can needs to live here. It's what my husband uses to water our orchids. But I'll replace the light with my iron here. So that's looking good. I love this shelf now. So it's funny, that shelf still looks kind of messy, but it's much more organized than it was before. Thanks for joining me. We'll make it into the attic next time. We're not gonna like organize a ton of stuff up there, but we'll just take a look. I have so much craft stuff up there that I think that can be interesting for some people, and I'm sure we'll have other things to talk about by the time next Monday rolls around. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.